to another episode of City Skylines with me, Yama. Thank you for tuning in again for episode number 8, which is the second part of the designing the tracks for the main train hub. So here you can see I'm just trying to figure out a way of connecting this train track, which was at a bit of a funny angle, but I liked having a funny angle in the city. I didn't want it to be all grids, so I wanted to add a point of interest, but I couldn't make the train track look realistic enough. So I sort of fiddle around with it loads of times and then just decide to move the train station in the end to a bit more of a normal place and just have a circle going around. Which is a real shame because I really enjoyed this area and I'm going to have to try and implement that somewhere else now to give the same effect. But I think the way it turns out is okay and it serves the purpose. So for the train track, I just try and make it as smooth as possible because I want the trains to look realistic. And then I just want to finish off the seawall quite nicely on the edge and finish off the cement area. So I thought it's probably normal for there to be a fence because that's a double-sided train station. They could get into the train track area and that's normally not permitted for anyone other than train personnel. So I put in this fence to try and make it a bit more realistic as well, and just add a few little security fences on the other side too, next to the cargo train station. Just add some extra little car parks around the edge, and then I want to try and put something in this sort of area which is just turned into a concrete jungle. So I start by putting down some extra lighting for the trains so that at night it starts to look good, and I've added that most of the way up the train tracks. I've added the same lights as I did in the last episode so that it kept continuity and looked consistent. And now I want to try and add some extra sort of cargo shipping containers and things to tidy up this area. And this is the first time that I've actually used the ProleteR tool mod's parameters, which was actually really good. I've seen other people playing with it and it looks like it works, but I've never actually played with it myself. So here you can see I've just placed a few more cargo containers and I do the same on this side too. Tried to leave enough space so it looks realistic that they could be moved and put in place as and when cargo comes in and out of the area. I just wanted to use them to fill up the space really, to stop it looking so concrete everywhere. I didn't think it would be practical to put down trees. So I wanted to find like a forklift truck or something to pick up the cargo containers, but I didn't have an asset for that. And I found this little crane which I thought looked quite interesting, so I've put them down in a few areas so it looks like a busy trade hub. And also putting down a few extra lights which intersected some of the cargo containers just to keep the realism. So next we're going to connect the train hub to the main train track for the out connection of the city, just to start getting some of the freight coming through and the passenger trains. And I wanted to make the track a 3-to-2 connection. And I have a real hard time with these tracks because I'm not really great at placing tracks anyway, and I don't really know a lot about trains, but I want to A, make it look good, and B, I want the trains to run smoothly on the tracks. So main priority was to try and get smooth curves and also to try and make it all connect correctly, because sometimes if you place the tracks down they go invisible and it looks like the train's just driving itself around on the sand, which obviously is not realistic. As you can see, it takes me so many goes to try and get this correct, and I still wasn't really happy with it near the end. But I guess as we evolve the city, we'll see how it goes. I also wanted to add an extra dead leg track in the middle of this area so we could put some more trains on it to, again, make it look like there's train maintenance going on and things. So I start by adding a bit more residential area, and I know it's probably not great to put it right by the tracks, but I've decided that it could be a quite nice view, and if you're a keen train spotter then maybe you'll pay a lot for a house there, so we'll see how that goes, see how good it is. and I want to just add an extra bit of avenue so that the traffic isn't too bad, and add a bit of extra seawall so that it creates a clean line. So I definitely need some extra car parking near the train station to appease people there, and I also want a park quite close to make sure that the land value isn't too low. So I've just put a placeholder park there for now. And then I just sort of dot the extra residential areas around, as I don't really like doing all high residential or low residential. I like to sort of dot it around and add a bit of each. So I want to make this park area quite nice, but that park wasn't the sort of thing I was going for in the end. So I have a look through and find one that I like better. And in the end I can't find something I like, so I decide to put down some trees and things, and I know that won't do the land value any good, so I add a few parks in there afterwards and just fill it out with extra trees. So I let that grow and see how it goes. It does look quite nice, and as the land value goes up, the buildings will get nicer. So I'm quite happy with the way that is for now. Just make some few minor adjustments and add in some extra parking and things. So I decided to put a extra small road looking out onto the sea, and I put that as low density residential so that they can overlook the sea, and hopefully that will end up being quite a nice high value area to live. And I put a school at the end of the road, and then on the inside of the road facing into the avenue I put some high density residential, as they're going to be looking in on the town a bit more. So you know me, I don't really like doing the whole grid thing, so I'm always trying to make it a little bit more interesting, and I really like how it turned out on my first areas that I've done. So I'm going to try and keep that trend going and do a few extra curvy lines and not really squeeze as much in as possible. I want to add a bit more interest to the city. I still want to use as much land as I can without wasting too much, but I don't want it to just look like it's been placed in there with no thought. I'm quite happy with that. I decided to put in an elementary school and also a bit of extra parking around the edge of it. I've put in a few metro stations, as you can see there on the left, and I'm just sort of figuring out a way of adding them so that they can use the main road there to the school. But just prettify that a little bit, and more parking. You can never have enough parking. And I had some high density commercial and some high density residential. I just keep placing it as I go to decide how I want to do it. I mean, there's no real way of knowing what's going to come out, so I just sort of do what I think's right at the time and then just change it if I think it doesn't look as good as I was expecting. So I've added some extra high density commercial here with a multi-storey car park for some extra parking. I'm really trying to help out with the transport here, so I'm going to connect up the metro stations probably in the next episode. Now I saw this fire going on and thought I'd best put down a fire station. So there we go, there's a fire station on the main avenue with a little road going to it for pedestrians if they want to go to the main shopping centre that's further up the road. And then I add some low density in and around the high density areas for residential. Tidy up some of the areas where the props have grown and haven't really looked very good, and add the last extra bit. I wanted to add some parks and some places of interest to keep the value high again. Like I said before, this is quite a large area that we're doing here. So I've added this park in and add a bit of residential around it. And as I added a fire station, I decided to add a police station as well. And a little park on the edge here with some play areas and some trees. And with this little bit of extra area by the avenue, I've decided to put in some high density commercial and some more car parking. And I had a little 1x1 space all the way along that avenue because I don't really like putting too much on the main avenues because of causing traffic. So I again added some little car parks with some bushes and some trees to make it look quite nice. I added in a few more metro stations, and as you can see, I'm just going to join them together as best I can for now and just make a quick circuit to try and calm down the traffic in the area. That will probably change, and we'll probably do a full episode on metros at some point once we've evolved the city a little bit more. And that's where I'm going to finish it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. And please give me a like and subscribe. And if you've got any comments or any ideas, please don't hesitate to write them in the comment section down below or on Twitter. I also have had a few name suggestions for the city and some of the districts, which I've really appreciated, and in the next episode I'm going to go ahead and put some of those into the city. So if you'd like to see one of your suggestions in the city, then please comment down below with any suggestions you might have, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you again in the next episode next week. Thank you. Bye.